the Titans, the division is ours. I don't care what Houston did yesterday. They're going to go get their Letterman jackets again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans? Maximus Titan fan here with the Titans Fan Battle Podcast, brought to you by the Fan Battle Sports Network. And I am proud to announce that we have a special guest with us tonight, Mr. Tyler Rowland from the Locked On Titans podcast. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Tyler. Tell everybody where they can find you at.
Yeah, sure. Tyler Rowland, host of the Locked On Titans podcast, Monday through Friday on YouTube, Locked On Titans YouTube channel. At Tic Tac Titans on Twitter, where I'm sure we all met each other first. And then I do write for Sports Illustrated at alltitans.com, covering the team on a daily basis, pretty much everything you need to know. So any of those places. But thanks for having me on, first and foremost. I appreciate it. Excited to talk some ball.
Oh, yeah. We were super thrilled to have you on, man. Like I said, you were obviously one of my huge inspirations for even starting this podcast. So I'm, grateful to you that you were able to come on and give me a shout out and everything. That you're just the greatest ever. If you don't know this man, you don't watch him on YouTube, you should. Be an everydayer just like me. Get on there, hit the like button, subscribe, everything, man. This dude is awesome. Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you.
So let's dig right into it. Training camp. We're back in training camp. Everything's going on. Today was the first day with pads. So I guess my first question for you would be the defensive line domination. We've seen it without the pads. I was kind of hoping we wouldn't see it with the pads, but with the pads, it seems like they're still getting kind of dominated out there. And I heard that Harold Landry was just kind of having his way with Andre Dillard. What do you kind of make of that? And what is your assessment of that? Is it that our offensive line is just having real big issues, or is it our defensive line is just really that good? Or is it a combination?
Well, I think what's the Drake meme that's going around right now? Combination. That's what it is right there. Obviously, we all expected the Titans' defensive line to be awesome, right? So why would everybody act out, be surprised, any of that, when the Titans' defensive line is, in fact, awesome? And we're hoping that the Titans' defensive line be great against anybody, let alone the Titans' offensive line, which we know, even if everything goes well, they're probably an average offensive line. You know what I mean? Even if everything goes well. So I think the odds are that it's, going to fall somewhere in the middle. The Titans offensive line will be a little bit better, maybe not as good as average, but still probably worse than we all hope with our most optimistic versions of what the offensive line could be. But it's a brand new offensive line. I saw something today that the Titans have like the least amount of returning snaps on their offensive line, which makes sense. So it's a new offensive line, just now getting pads on. The Titans defensive line should be awesome. I think that you should be just as concerned about the offensive line right now as we were before they ever started playing. And that is just a healthy amount of skepticism as to whether this new group is good enough. I think the Titans are probably taking an offensive lineman next year in the first round of the draft too. Like that'll be a number one top need no matter what happens here. So I guess I feel the same way about the Titans offensive line as I did before. And everything that's happened just kind of confirms it, not really changes my mind.
All right. Well, that is well answered. What else would I expect?
What do you guys think? I mean, is it panic mode for the offensive line already? I mean, if you want to go that route, you might end up being right anyway. So I can't tell you that you're wrong, like maybe.
I don't necessarily want to hit the panic button yet. I would like to see how they do against other competition. Like I'll be more interested when the preseason starts or when we get the now the Patriots is never mind. That's further on. So that joint practice will happen after the first preseason game. So first preseason game is when I'll actually start to judge, what's going on and if we need to hit the panic button or not. That's my whole feeling. I want to see them against other competition.
I have some very skeptical optimism at the highest point for this. But one thing I do really want to know, because I haven't really been able to see it for myself, is how is Skoronski doing? Is he coming along, or where are we playing him at guard, tackle? What are we doing with him right now?
Yeah, Skoronski's playing at guard. It's funny because when Vrabel started talking about who could be the starter at right tackle instead of NPF, what options there were, and he was naming the internal options. He was asked about Skoronski and whether Skoronski would move to right tackle, and he basically said, no, we want to let him kind of settle in at guard. We think, and I think this is purely just theory from me, but I think Skoronski's just awesome at guard. And they're like, listen, we could move him out to tackle and he'll be pretty good, but we might have like a Pro Bowl. And I know that Pro Bowl doesn't mean what it used to because of the alternates and all that, but I think everybody has an understanding of what you mean. He may not be like the best top 5 guard in the NFL, but he might be like top 10, So I think he could be like a Pro Bowl level guard immediately. And with the way the Titans play offense, think their zone scheme, I know they're going to mix in more power. We've seen Jordan Roos pull in a video, and they're working on their power and their man run games. They want to diversify the run game so that they have answers for every defense, but they're still going to have the bread and butter inside zone, outside zone stuff with Derrick Henry that we're used to. And when you run those plays, the middle three, the guards and the center, have to work so well together to execute those reach blocks and those scoop blocks and do these double teams before they climb up the linebackers and communicate who's double teaming and who's climbing. And like all of that stuff is so important to the Titans run game that I think when you have an excellent, like look what Roger Saffold did when he was here and healthy. Like he was awesome to have a big bodied guy who can just move guys and still move their feet too. So I think Skoronski is just so good at guard that they would rather, basically if you move Skoronski to right tackle and you put somebody else in at left guard, now you're worse at right tackle and you're worse at left guard. If you leave Skoronski at left guard and just put in whoever at right tackle, at least you're only worse at right tackle. So I think that Skoronski has the ability to play tackle, but I think they just want him to be a freaking awesome guard right now, and he can be that, and they need that more, I think, long term.
I agree.
Yeah, me personally, I think it's a little too early to go in panic mode. I feel like we just need to chill, let it play out. I mean, usually most of the time, defense is always one step ahead of the offense in training camp. It's just how it is. It's easy to gel as a defense than it is with an offense. And I feel like after last year, Dennis Daly and all the rotation we had, it can't get no worse. So we'll definitely be better than last year. So everybody just take a chill pill. It's just training camp. We do have a beast defensive line, and we'll get there. Our offensive line will definitely be better, so everybody just chill.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. There's not really, too much to panic on right now. So on to the next big question I had for you. Tajay Sharp. He's kind of not been talked about lately. Or excuse me. Oh my goodness.
I mean, that's an easy slip. I mean,
I went back in time.
Yeah,
sorry. I went back in time about 10 years there. Tajay Spears. I did it again, didn't I? No, I got it right that time. I wrote it down wrong. Okay, that's what I did. Okay, anyway, Tajay Spears hasn't been talked about much lately. It's kind of been like on my mind, like is he kind of falling out, or is he just kind of like mixing in, or are people just now just starting to get used to him being awesome?
Well, I think that with the lack of pads the last few days, I mean, they put the pads on now, but with the lack of pads, I don't think people really care what happens in the run game. You could tell me that somebody busted off a big run, but if there are no pads, I mean, what the passing game is different. The passing game that's why 7-on-7 and stuff is so critical to practice and what they're working on, because that really does translate. But run blocking without pads you're basically bird dogging it at that point and just kind of going through the motions of what you would do, since you can't really move anybody around or anything. So I think with that being the case, there's not going to be as much pub for running backs just in general, because the majority of where their value is just isn't respected at that time. With the pads coming on now this week, maybe we'll get a little bit more of that and there'll be some more excitement there. But I know Spears dropped a couple passes in practice a couple of practices ago over the weekend and stuff like that. So I think he's just adjusting and learning a new offense. But I think that Tajay Spears, when the lights turn on, is going to be awesome. And he's going to be somebody that a lot of people were doing the whole, worry about his knee when he was drafted. And that kind of killed some of the excitement about him as a player. But I think he's a 3-down running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. I don't think he's quite, Alvin Kamara or anything Christian McCaffrey level catching the ball out of the backfield. I just think that he can do it, but he can also run the ball and actually spell Derrick Henry for some carries. So I think he's going to have more value than people realize, but I think just circumstance and maybe him coming along a little slow has led to not a lot of conversation, I guess, about him.
All right.
That was a big thing with me with Spears, is that I was really excited about it. I need him to take carries off of Derrick Henry's workload. Because Haskins, I'm just not sold on Hassan Haskins at all. And especially with all the turmoil that's been going on this offseason with him, who knows what's going to happen with him. So really, I really want Spears to succeed. I saw the report about his knee, apparently not having much cartilage left in his knee at all. So I don't know if there's any more reports that have come out on that, or if we know anything more about that now, or what's going on.
I think it's just, we know what we know. He had 2 ACL tears in the same knee. There's no ACL left in the knee. He's probably not going to be able to have the longest career of all time. Maybe he will, but I think the reality always was that, for better or for worse, I don't want to get into the whole running back philosophical debate, but the smart thing to do with running backs is now draft them, keep them for their rookie contract, let them leave afterwards and draft somebody new. And from the Titans' perspective, it may seem inhumane to talk about players like this, but the reality is the Titans should probably just keep Tajay Spears for the 4 years of his rookie contract and then let him go and draft a new, cheaper, younger Tajay Spears again. That's just, it's unfortunate. Like I said, it's very inhumane to say it that way, but that's just the way that is right. Like all of this Jonathan Taylor stuff is happening. And like, even go back to Edgerrin James replaced Marshall Faulk because they didn't want to pay. And Joseph Adai replaced Edgerrin James because they didn't want to pay. Just an example in the division. Like, this has been going on for a long time, and now it's just in the public consciousness. But I feel bad from the Tajay Spears angle. I wouldn't want to hear this if I was his friend or his family, but the truth is the Titans probably just keep him the 4 years and let him go. And then a knee injury that will limit how long he can play isn't even a factor, because you're only keeping him 4 years anyway. So I guess I didn't have a lot of concerns about the injury news, because he tore his ACL last in 2020, which means he played 2 seasons without that ACL, right? And those were great seasons, and he played great last year. So clearly he can play without the ACL, and if the issue is long-term, then the Titans probably won't have him long-term anyway, because that's how the running back position is. So I just don't see the downside really at that time, unless you just say you shouldn't draft a running back in the 3rd round anyway, go later, whatever.
Yeah. I did see one post that was like, well, you can't tear an ACL if you don't have it, so that's a plus.
right.
Yeah,
can't tear it.
Yeah, you brought up my counterpoint to that, Tyler, was that all the highlight reels you watch on Tajay Spears is him without the ACL. Like 90% of all of them are him without an ACL.
Right.
So I'm not worried about it. I think he's going to be fantastic at this level.
That dude's going to ball out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so the other big question I had for you is how much does having D-Hop improve Treylon Burks and his play?
I think it's huge. So as I kind of did earlier when we talked about how like the zone scheme, how important it is for the interior 3, I'm going to dive into something that's a little scheme related here too. And I think any Titans fan listening can picture the play in their mind. I feel like Matthew McConaughey and A Time to Kill. Close your eyes and picture for me, if you will. But literally, the Titans have 2 tight ends, 1 on each side of the offensive line, Derrick Henry in the backfield, 2 wide receivers, 1 on each side. They play action to Derrick Henry. One of the wide receivers runs a deep post. The other wide receiver runs a medium crosser or a bang route or a strike route, whatever you want to call it. That medium route that A.J. Brown always caught over the middle of the field off play action. So the way that – imagine that play in your head and then think about how defenses play the Titans. There's 8 men in the box. If you got 8 men in the box, that means you only have 3 men out of the box, which means you're probably running a single high safety. You got 1 safety deep. Your other safety's down in the box. When you do that, the Titans are going to run a deep post against it with one of their wide receivers in that intermediate route. Well, now that it's DeAndre Hopkins running the intermediate route over the middle of the field, instead of Nick Westbrook-Akine or Chris Moore, Lord, instead of it being one of those guys, now it's DeAndre Hopkins. So if you're that deep safety, are you going to come down? And we've seen Tannehill get picked like this a bunch. That deep safety says, I'm not even worried about who's going behind me. I'm coming downhill to take away that medium route, that intermediate route over the middle, and I'm picking off Ryan Tannehill, who's trying to drill it in there, thinking he's got space from the play action. All right? Well, when it's Nick Westbrook-Akine or Robert Woods running that deep post, I'm going downhill on Treylon Burks. I'm going downhill on the short throw I know Tannehill wants to make. Well, when you got Burks running the deep route and Hopkins over the middle, now the safety has to seriously ask themselves what they're going to do. And they're going to hit the Hopkins over the middle a couple of times. The safety's going to get a little impatient. He's going to take 1 step forward, and then a 6'2" monster is going to go past him and jump over top him and the cornerback and take down the ball. Just like Treylon Burks did to who? Jair Alexander, one of the best cornerbacks in the entire NFL as a rookie. Now he's in better shape.
Yep.
Now he's slimmer, faster, more confident. He's coaching up Colton Dow right now instead of, like he kind of admitted last year, not really knowing the plays a ton and having to ask people to give him information. You know, he's a totally different player now, totally different confidence level, comfortability level. So I think that Burks has the chance to have better numbers than DeAndre Hopkins because people are more worried about DeAndre Hopkins, and Burks is going to catch all these deep passes because safeties are going to be creeping on Hopkins. So there's nobody. I mean, Tannehill, you could make the argument, but nobody benefited from the Hopkins thing more than Treylon Burks if you go past Ryan Tannehill, of course. Or us, the fans, for the offense that we have to watch each week.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess I'll put Burks third when we take that into consideration.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I truly think that Treylon's going to ball out this year. I thought he was going to ball out anyway. But now that you take the pressure off of being that number 1 guy, that you have to be the number 1 guy, you know, now you can be 1A or 1B or whatever you want to call it, 1 and 2, however you want to dish it out. But yeah, I think he's going to do so much better now that he has somebody that can actually perform next to him. He doesn't have to really worry about, like you said, Nick Westbrook-Akine or Chris Moore or Kyle Phillips or whoever would have made that second spot is nowhere near as talented as DeAndre Hopkins, and that's the point.
I think if we look at the flip side of that too, I mean, we go through 2 or 3 games where we're burning people deep that are trying to load the box on us. They're going to have to put in more DBs to be able to cover these guys. Even Chig, I mean, Chig is basically a huge receiver, so who can block. So, I mean, this guy is a monster too, so you're going to have to put in somebody who can cover him. So this is going to open up for Derrick Henry now and help the offensive line out too, because they're not going 5 on 8 every play. Hopefully, you know. So as we get on into the season, I'm hoping that's what happens too. He opens up the entire offense and helps out Henry too, who takes off once again some of the workload off of him because he's. I mean, it's only a matter of time. The guy's a running back who's taken 20,000 carries in his lifetime. So.
Well, and that's a really good point too, man. I mean, you know, you look at Henry's yards per carry, it's went down over the last couple seasons. It's obvious because we can't pass the ball, you know, and everybody can load up against Derrick Henry. Right. So, I mean, if we can prove that we can pass the ball efficiently and not, you know, have to rely on the run to win a game, then it forces defenses to back off of Henry, which just opens up a whole field for Henry and gives him, just makes everybody on the offense more productive.
Yeah, with the personnel we have right now, offense, I feel like Tim Kelly can just open it up. Like it's almost like playing Madden. Like we got so much stuff we can do on offense. Hopkins made it to where we can do so many different things, and we can cut out the bull crap plays like the jet sweeps with Malik Willis and the screen passes to tight ends who can't really run. Like that stuff is gone, man. It's like that stuff left with Todd Downing. Now, Tim Kelly, we need you to turn our passing game into a top level passing game. We got the receivers for it. We're working on getting the offensive line, and we got the running back that can, run the ball and actually put a fear on the defense that we might run it. Now that we got a real passing game. So, like, hey, man, it's a lot. The sky's the limit for our offense. I feel like we definitely going to be a threat. And Hopkins just put the icing on the cake. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm hoping for no more 3 tight end 1st and 10s. That's my goal for this season.
I mean, don't put too much hope in that. Tim Kelly sure does love his tight ends. I mean, I think we should all be excited. People kind of laughed when I wrote this article back in like February or whatever. But Mike Vrabel said after Tim Kelly was hired, the 3 things that Tim Kelly was most involved in last year with the offense. And he said it was the red zone offense. He said it was early down passing. And then he worked with the tight ends individually. Well, the tight ends last year, Chigakonkwo took a big step. You know what I mean? So you got to give him credit for that. Not only that, but early down passing. I don't know if you guys have seen the stuff that Warren Sharp shared, but the Titans were one of the top 14 most efficient teams passing the ball on early downs last year. The Titans' early down passing was good. Wow. The reason that Todd Downing was a fool is because he didn't pass it enough. The Titans had like the 2nd highest run rate on 1st down with the like 3rd least efficient rush offense. And they had like a top 14, top 12 passing efficiency offense on early downs, but threw it like the 4th least. So they were just doing early down passing well. They just wouldn't do it. And we don't know why. We'll never know why, but either way, Todd Downing's gone. Hopefully Tim Kelly continues what he was a big part of last year in red zone. I mean, I think off the top of my head, the Titans were top 5 red zone offense. Yeah. Maybe even number 1.
I think
I know that they were they were number 1 in goal to go situations on the 1-yard line. Yes. So like the Titans are great in the red zone, which Tim Kelly was responsible for. They were great throwing the ball on early downs. Tim Kelly was responsible for. Chigakonkwo took a big step. He was involved in the tight end development. So I think based on what Tim Kelly did last year, we should be excited about this offense because I think it could be completely different. And he's actually going to look to get the ball to – I remember last year in a press conference, it was Mike Vrabel or Todd Downing, but one of them said, like, we're not looking to, like, force a guy the ball. We want to run, like, smart plays and stuff like that. And it's like every other offensive coach in the league is like, how do I get my best players the ball the most in the best situations? And the Titans are like, we don't want to do that. We just want to run our plays. And it's like, what are we doing? So I'm hoping that Tim Kelly obviously doesn't do that, and they've learned, and based on some of the reports of the type of plays they're running, the way they're getting guys the ball, it seems like Tim Kelly understands that that is what he has to do.
Right. I'm excited about Tim Kelly. I was excited about the hire. Everybody kind of got upset in the fan base about the inside hire, and I was like, you guys are not looking at the stats. You're not looking at what he did the last time he was an offensive coordinator. But, whatever. It's okay. But I know we're getting close to your time. So I want to ask you, I saw a post earlier on Twitter. Oh, we lost your audio.
Oh, I said we could do a little overtime. I ain't going anywhere.
Oh. All right, cool. Well, look, I wanted to ask you about the fans at camp. If I don't know if you watch my show, I'm sure you don't, but if I've been kind of on a rant lately about the fans at camp, and it's a thing for me because I've been a fan for a long time. So, Titans Caravan, all that stuff. I've been a part of all that because I live in right outside of Knoxville. So any chance I get to go actually be a part of the Titans, I do. I drive, and I was happy to drive all the way to Knoxville, or Nashville, like 4 times a year. I think it was open to the public or whatever. You could come in, and the last time I had a football guest on, I think last week, I asked him, Mike Patton, what the what their deal was with that, and he said, well, they've been building a lot of new facilities. They don't really have a lot of room. Where the stands were is kind of not there anymore. And I don't know, I hate it that they've made this. Not only have they made it to where you had to be a season ticket holder last year, but now they have this lottery for the season ticket holders just to get into their practices. I don't know. I feel like it's a disconnection from the fans, because I'm part of an AFC South network. They cover all the shows in the AFC South. And basically, like, I get to see all the other shows, and I see that the Colts are letting their fans in, just like a lot of other teams do. And I just don't understand why the Titans, I mean, I know they're really strict about who can and can't be in their facilities or around their facilities. I know the 7-on-7s, they don't, videotape that stuff, and they don't ever allow even media to do stuff with that. I get all that, but it just kills me as a fan. I feel like I'm disconnected from my team. I wish my team made more of an effort to connect with me again.
Yeah, I think that's a fair complaint. And you hinted at it, because I'm sure you know that I've been complaining about it for years now. I don't understand the Titans' restrictive nature, how they want to restrict access. It's almost like they think they're restricting access to other teams, but they're only hurting their own fans. I'm sorry, but the Kansas City Chiefs allow all their fans. The Kansas City Chiefs allow full taping of their practices, 11-on-11, 7-on-7. Like, we hear about these, Traylon Burks caught a one-handed pass in the back of the end zone, and Mike Vrabel threw his hands up and yelled touchdown. Will Levis threw 3 straight touchdown passes. We would see all of that if the Titans were like the Chiefs or the Bengals or the Jets or the Buccaneers, or, we could keep going. Most of the teams in the NFL aren't as restrictive as the Titans. And when you see teams like the Bengals and you see teams like the Chiefs, and people can say, oh, well, I got responses. Oh, Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes, you could show anybody anything and it won't matter. Stop it. These teams have been this way for a long time. It's not like they just got Pat Mahomes and they're like, you know what? We didn't show anybody anything because we think it's going to hurt our chances to win. But now we have Pat Mahomes, and we're so good that we'll just let everybody see. That's not the point. These teams do it and allow it because they want their fans to experience it. They want their fans to feel connected to the team at practice. And if the Titans are sitting in their offices right now and saying, well, not letting our fans see it helps us win games in the fall, like, it's just foolishness. It's absolute foolishness. It doesn't matter, And the same people who will come on my and say, oh, who cares if Will Levis throws 3 touchdowns in practice? It's just practice, blah, 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 are the same people that come on my post and say, oh, it's no big deal to me. I don't need to see more of the Titans, blah, blah, blah. It's like, how can you have it both ways? Does it matter? Does it not matter? Don't you want to see it? There is no argument from the fans that makes any sense to argue that they want to see less of their team. I want to see less highlights. I want to see less stuff. Football is entertainment. I want to be entertained by this team I spend money on, spend my time on, spend my energy on. I want to be entertained. And if all these other teams, it's like if you and all your buddies, all of their wives, let them go play golf once a week. And you're the only one who doesn't get to go play golf once a week. And then you come to me and say, actually, I love my wife more because she doesn't let me golf. She just wants me around so much. She loves me more than your wives. It's like nonsense to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel about the Titans not showing stuff. Like, it's just like, are they fooling themselves, or do they just want to make it less fun for us? I don't know. There is no lot. I'm with you in that rant, and I appreciate you fighting that fight. I mean, and you keep fighting because I don't know. I get so much crazy pushback from people who purposefully want to see. It's like the people who go on your podcast in the comments and say, why are you talking about that? Well, what do you mean? What do you want to talk about? Do you want there to be no podcast? Do you not want to talk about the Titans, period? Would you rather focus on your work? No, you're on your lunch break watching a YouTube channel because any topic about the Titans is still entertaining, and it's better than not having conversation about the Titans.
Yeah.
So more Titans, more content, more podcasts, more articles, more. Why not be entertained? Why are you against more entertainment?
Yes, thank you. I
Right.
always say
And
the more the merrier.
And that's really a thing though. Like fortunately my kids and my wife, they got to go to training camp today, but and they had fun, but they said the Titans were real strict about cell phones. No recording. They said they were kicking people, they were kicking you out if they catch you with your cell phones and banning you. So like it's serious, but I just don't understand it, man. And even today,
man? Well, they think they're going to score 3 extra points against the Dolphins in week 15 or whatever. Like, come on, man. Let your fans take a video. Like,
that's just
all these other teams are doing it. This isn't the FBI. This isn't Fort Knox. Come on.
Yeah. Well, they're not scheming for a specific team or something like that. I understand if it was like the week before preseason. All right, I get you. You know, you don't want to see that. That's fine. But when you're like the first 2 weeks,
that's different.
Come on now.
Yeah, no team does that. No team is putting out full practice of team drills during practice for the season. You know, but tons of teams and all the teams that win more than the Titans in the last few years all do it. So don't tell me like it's not like Joe Burrow's losing a game because somebody filmed an 11-on-11 rep in June or July. Like, come on, man, just give your fans more. We deserve it.
That's what I'm saying. And like I was showing you, every single signature on that hat, I got it at training camp. And I felt like, you know, you actually get to talk to the players. You get to meet them. I mean, it humanizes them. You know what I mean? It makes you feel like you're, you know, more, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a weird guy, but I just feel like I'm more connected to a person if I can actually talk to them face to face than if they're just on a TV screen or.
Yeah.
Right. And the more you see them, the more videos you see players, the more interviews you see players, all that stuff. Absolutely. Like it just brings the customer to the product directly. And I just want somebody from their public relations department to just tell me why they have stuck with this restricted policy on media. And I can't speak as much to like the local fan stuff and everything like that, but at least from like what they're allowed to put out on social media and stuff. I just want to even if their explanation is awful and they tell me we think it's a competitive advantage,
that's different.
Even if that's their answer, at least admit it and say it publicly so we can shame you.
Thank you. At least come out and say, this is why, you know.
Yeah.
I'm right there with y'all on that, man. And the thing that really gets me about it is we're constantly talked about as one of the lower fan bases in the NFL. We're constantly talked about as one of the worst social media teams in the NFL, worst content. And it's like what we're doing is not working. So let's change something up. And like you said, if the Chiefs do it, it can't be that bad. They're obviously it's not hurting them. They're doing pretty well in Kansas City.
The Bengals, the Eagles beat reporters tweet out like, for example, they'd be like, Elijah Molden lined up in the nickel spot and rotated with Roger McCreary 3 times during all full team periods. They ran a hook zone 3 times. He ran a flat route 3 times. But like the Eagles tell you exactly what play they ran and where everybody's at in full lineup description. It's like, well, no wonder they didn't win the Super Bowl last year. I guess it's because they show their training camp stuff too much. You know, like
exactly.
What are we talking about? What are we doing? But anyway, this is a very first world problems, pie in the sky, man yells at cloud thing. So I guess we could talk about the actual team if you guys want.
Yeah. All right. So last actual team question I got for you, man, is the rotation between Monty Rice and Dr. Gibby.
That was the most interesting thing of the day, in my opinion, other than the Will Levis thing. That kind of flew under the radar too.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I'm a big Bulldogs fan. If we're talking about college ball, I know a lot of my associates here in Knoxville hate that, but oh well. So I really want to see Monty Rice, you know, produce. I want to see him produce, but he just doesn't seem to be able to produce in the passing game. He doesn't seem to be able to run with receivers or even tight ends really well. You know, I don't know. He just doesn't seem to get that aspect of it really well. He's really good at run defense, You know, he's quick sideline to sideline, that kind of guy. But even Vrabel had an interview where he was talking about how Gibby was just lengthy and just better at pass pro, you know. And I don't know, what's your take on that? Do you think that's something we might actually see in the season as it goes along, or?
I mean, I personally, I'm not as high on Monty Rice as a lot of people. I think a lot of people kind of viewed Monty as like linebacker one coming in. He's going to take that next step. He's the next David Long. And I don't know. I think he's got ability. He is speedy, especially he's faster than Gibbons. That's Mike Vrabel even admitted that today. But I just like the versatility that Gibbons can provide. Like you said, I think Gibbons has the ability to be better in coverage. I think if you had to have one of them match up one-on-one with a tight end, I would rather have Gibbons because of that length and that understanding of zone. I think Gibbons has a really good understanding of like where to drop to in coverage. And that sort of, we think about like how fast you are, how you move, making plays, blah, 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 but like knowing where to be and like having a good feel for like where to drop to. David Long was really good at that last year. When they would play action fake, David Long take 2 steps up, oops, and he would drop back and he would know where to go. I think Gibbons is better at that than Monty Rice is right now. But honestly, it may be a rep situation. Rice has missed some time, and it's not just that he misses time. It feels like he can't get momentum going because his injuries like disrupt patches of time. So I'm hoping that Monty Rice gets more reps. But at the end of the day, I don't see Monty Rice as like do you think Monty Rice will ever be better than David Long? Than what we saw from David Long last year, like when healthy.
If this is his third year, this his third year? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I was going to say him and Racey McMath were drafted in the same year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So if I obviously
Monty's been better than Racey though. I know. I got to respect Monty Rice now.
I give you that. I give
sure.
you that.
He has done more. Yeah,
but we're talking about progression,
right?
Throughout, you know, from rookie to now.
Mm-hmm.
I love my Bulldogs and everything, but I have to say, you know, there's not that much progression from the time we drafted him to where he's at right now. And it's kind of the same with McMath. And if I'm going to be hard on McMath and say, all right, it's time to move on from him, we've given him enough time, you know, unless he does something just absolutely amazing in training camp and preseason, we need to let him go. Then
I don't think he has. I try to connect the dots, and maybe with the rotation and the stuff the Titans do, it's out of line. But like, if Will Levis is the third team quarterback and Will Levis is throwing touchdown passes to Racey McMath, either Will Levis got to play with the twos, which Paul Kaharski reported today. Will Levis did start rotating in with the second team here and there. Him and Willis were rotating, which was interesting as well. But like if Will Levis is throwing touchdown passes to Racey McMath, that means Racey McMath is playing with the third team offense. He's going into his third season. I just don't think it's there. You know what I mean? But Monty has been better than Racey, that's for sure. But I understand. I think that you keep Monty on the team no matter what. It's not like you go away from him after this training camp. He's going to be on the team this year and next year, barring something crazy. But I guess the question is like, do you guys really see Monty Rice developing into somebody who you're going to give a second contract to?
Yeah, that was my point.
You're probably just going to draft another linebacker after, you know, in next year's draft or the year after's draft, and have him replace Monty Rice and let Monty Rice go because, like, he's just a replacement level linebacker, in my opinion. He's not anybody who's going to be, like, even an above average starter. Like, you know, we talked, if you think about it, like all pro level, Pro Bowl level, above average starter, below average player, practice squad player. You know, like Monty Rice to me is just like average. He could start for you. He's like David Long. I know they're different skill sets of players, but like David Long is a good linebacker. He can make some good plays, crazy interceptions, good against the run. But you're not going to pay him a ton of money and keep him, like, you're just going to get a different guy who's probably about the same level. And like for every Monty Rice, there's an Azeez Al-Shire. And it's like, I'm not paying Monty Rice $6 or $7 million when I could just pay a veteran who's just about the same, maybe a couple mil less. Like, it's the same why they let David Long go and then replaced him with Azeez, who's the same price. It's just, they're just an average replacement level linebacker. And I don't see Monty Rice ever being more than that. So would I be shocked if Jack Gibbons, who could maybe be a replacement level linebacker, could beat him out because his skill set is just a little more diverse. I 100% believe that. And that's just based on where I always saw Monty Rice. I never saw him as like a true linebacker one. I've never even seen Monty Rice as a guy who I think is on David Long's level and how I viewed him. So I don't know. I guess I wasn't shocked to hear that, but some people who have been higher on Monty Rice maybe are shocked to hear that, but I guess I wasn't.
I think this is the year though that we're going to find out who's right and who's wrong on Monty Rice. Really, I do. Because I mean, this is year 3, like we talk about. Year 4 is the contract year. Everybody tries the ball out in year 4, but I feel like year 3 is when you see who a player really is.
Yes,
that's we're about to see. So I'm really excited. And like I told them before the show started, I'm a big Monty Rice fan. I know a lot of his family from Alabama, so like I'm big on him. I want him to do well. Yeah. I'm also, like I said, a skeptical optimist. So I'm not too optimistic about it. But I do hope that he does well. Fan. You're right. Yeah. Right. 22 years of disappointment. But
I got.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Flame.
Hey, Tyler, I got 2 questions. I want you before you leave. And sure. Max gonna bust out laughing on the first one. What is your honest to God feeling about Caleb Farley?
Oh man.
Okay.
What's your honest to God feeling on Caleb Farley, bro?
Well, I mean, there's 2 different opinions that I have here. One is the football opinion, and one is the opinion that I have on just Caleb's situation. The football opinion, brother, he's done. Like, I'm sorry. It's a whole and this goes into my second opinion. This goes into my second opinion, but he switched positions early in college. So it's not like this guy's been playing cornerback for a long time. He tore his ACL in college, barely gets an opportunity to play cornerback, comes back, has like one good season, then back injury, then COVID happens too, and he misses a bunch of time where he could be playing because of injuries and COVID and all that. Comes into the NFL, first 2 NFL seasons, torn ACL, second season re-aggravates the back. So that's 2 ACLs, 2 backs, a position change, like
2
limited
seasons,
reps.
3 seasons off, yeah.
Yeah, there was just no way that a developmental guy, he was always a guy who had a ton of athletes. He's super tall, super fast, physical. He's got all the athletic skill in the world, but he just needs time to develop. And unfortunately, he's not going to have time to develop. And any time that he would have, he's been robbed of because his body is just not built to be a professional athlete, I guess. You know, I don't think that, like, when I say that, people think it's a big critique. Like, most people's bodies are not built to withstand professional sports, you know?
That's
like,
why they're called professional.
None of us are. I would die out there. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, I would literally die. So, like, I'm not criticizing the dude. It's just the reality that not everybody's body is built to withstand it. So he got screwed from an experience standpoint. He got screwed from a body standpoint. So I feel bad saying it, but I just do not see any path where he comes back to be a relevant player for the Titans at all. He's never going to be close to where this draft selection. He'll probably get one more opportunity after this because everybody gets a second chance when you have talent. But I just don't see it happening. What I do want to say is with all that stuff that I just said happened to him and his mom dies from cancer, like, from a human perspective, think about how hard the last like 4 years have probably been. Plus, you get on social media and everybody's like dogging you, dude. Just absolutely dog. I host a podcast, and you know, I'm not really, you know, it's only the couple thousand people or, you know, the 20,000 people my ecosystem is. But some days I'm not having a good day for whatever reason, and then somebody says something really mean to me. You know, like, even though I know, like, I'm good, like, that mean insult isn't real, you know, like, everything. Like, some days it just sucks. So to, like, be in Farley's situation, like, you know, and to not have your own mother, like, that's hard. Because who's the nicest person to you ever in your whole life? Most of the time, it's your mom. I know everybody's situation is different. Maybe that's not always the case. But generally speaking, your mother loves you more than anybody else in the whole world. That'll be tough on you, but mama always is. Well, when he's going through the hardest period of his entire life and everyone is as mean to him as they've ever been, the one person who loves you most and who is nicest and sweetest to you isn't there to give you any balance. And that's why maybe I should think about this more when we discuss players, but I get like my hair stands up because I feel so bad for him. And I know in my mind that there's just no way he's ever going to get back to who he hoped he could be when he was in the driveway, on the playground, hoping he could be that NFL player. His body is never going to let him get close to that. And it's just, just a human to human, man. I don't care that he got a couple $1,000,000. That's hard, man. That's tough. That money's going to go, and he's not going to have his mom or his dreams, so it sucks.
Yeah, damn. Second question. Do you finally think the injury bug is leaving us alone, man?
Don't talk about it.
Don't think we are over the injury bug?
I was going to say, dude, why do you have to ask this?
It's the second week of training camp. No. Don't do this. Listen, I think there's going to be a level of injuries with this team no matter what because of the way Vrabel wants to play. Vrabel's running these guys into the dirt in June and OTAs and stuff. We're building a callus, like that's what he's doing. And then we're going to play a physical brand of football that takes its toll on guys. So I think the Titans are never going to be like one of the least injured teams in the NFL. It's just not going to happen. But if they can just be like 15 to 20 instead of 32 every year. If they could just be like 15 to 20 in injuries, I think they'll be fine. And I think they can do that. I think they can do that this year. Please, Lord.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. I obviously I was the big fangirl here, so I wanted to get most of my questions, and I did, and that's cool. Flamey got a couple questions in there. Tyler, you have any questions for Tyler before we wrap this up?
Wait, who you asking? I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm ready to field any questions. No, but my biggest question was about the linebacker situation. I'm really, and I actually had a question about Caleb Farley as well. I saw where his agent was at practice earlier today and was talking to Vrabel before the press conference, which I find very odd. I don't know if that's something that happens often. I don't see that in the news very often. So seeing that was kind of weird. And I didn't really like that too much, but I don't want to be that guy. And I just wanted to ask about it before I really gave my opinion on it.
Well, that's fair. That is a good question. Let me talk you off the ledge. So while I know it's Caleb Farley's agent and he's hurt and he poked his head out of the Kim K meme where she's hiding behind a bush and she pokes her head out just a little bit. That's what I imagine Caleb Farley did out of the door of the locker room today. The way it was reported, it said Caleb Farley snuck out the side door of a locker room. Did he just oh, I'm here? You know what I mean? But I think that there's a terrible way to view this, and that's early retirement. The Titans are releasing him, some sort of big negative thing, which if the Titans cut Farley, it would cost them $2.5 million in salary cap space. It would save them nothing. So it doesn't really make sense unless they truly do think hey, this it's a medical retirement and they can get their money back or something like that, on the cap. But unless it's something like that, I think the reality here is it's just a courtesy agent visit. Drew Rosenhaus is Caleb Farley's agent, and he's one of if you ask people who's an agent in the NFL, Drew Rosenhaus might be the number one guy that people actually know. And I think he's just the type of guy, and I think agents do this a lot. They just visit their players throughout the summer. They have a client list. It's not so they'll go visit, especially a guy like Rosenhaus with a lot of clients. He'll probably just go visit his guys and take a trip during the summer and hit all the different training camps, see all his different clients, talk to their coaches, blah, 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 establish connections. Everything's about relationships in life and in business, So I think the truth of it is, while it does feel weird, I think the reality is it's probably just a courtesy agent visit, regular, generic. Hey, an agent's just stopping by training camp to see his player and check in and, keep tabs on those relationships that he's built and blah, 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 blah. I think it's most likely something like that more than it is something crazy with Farley is happening. But based on what's happened with him in his career and with him being on PUP still and all that, who knows if it is something crazy. But I guess if I had gun to my head, I would tell you it's probably just standard run-of-the-mill agent visit that happens during training camp. Because I think Rosenhaus has come out to Titans training camp before, whether it be last year or the year before. One of the years that I've been covering the team, Rosenhaus has stopped out there before, and it was similarly so-and-so's agent was here, blah, 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 and people were what does it mean? And I think they're just stopping by.
That's good to hear. I'm glad I didn't jump off the ledge there before I asked the question.
Now, I have a question since you brought that up, the Rosenhaus thing. Do you think that like his history with the Titans, since we've changed pretty much everything about the team since all that went down, do you think that our history with them is or our team with him are we cool? Do you think?
Yeah, I think everything's fine there. I think, when a single thing happens with a player and people are always like, oh, that agent, this, you see it in basketball a lot. I'm a big Lakers fan, and Aaron Mintz from CAA represented Paul George for a little while. I don't know if he still does, but like the Titans had some issue with one of his clients, and they're like, oh, the Lakers will never get Paul George. I said the Titans, but the Lakers will never get Paul George now because their agent hates him. And then like a year later, they signed one of his players that he has as a client. And it's like you can't have those kind of beefs in pro sports because eventually you're going to want one of your clients to go to a certain team. One of your clients is going to want to go to a certain team, this and that. Your client's going to get traded to that team. It's just, there's only 32 teams. Agents can't be like, oh, I'm never doing business with that team, or my relationship is terrible with that team. I mean, we're people, so we know dealing with somebody you don't like is going to happen, but I don't think they can afford to just be like, I'm not doing anything with that team. So I wouldn't make too much of the Drew Rosenhaus thing from any angle, really. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
All right. Anything anybody else wants to bring up before we wrap it up?
I just want to give a shout out to Tyler, man. Appreciate you coming on. I've been rocking with you for a long time.
Yes, dude.
I remember I used to work third shift at Vandy, man. You got me through a lot of nights, man.
Thanks, dude. Man. Yeah, I appreciate it, especially early on. I always tell people when I first started, I had 15 followers on my Twitter account. The first check I ever got was like $90. So like, it was small, and I definitely do remember some of the people very, very early on that would even give me a shot and give me a chance to listen. Funny story, I got added to a Titans group chat one time, and it was on Facebook. Don't add me to these if you're listening right now, people. I hate it. No more headspace for group chats or anything. Like, I have group chat with my high school friends. That's all I can afford to spend my energy on nowadays. But somebody added me to like a random group chat based on one of those Titans Facebook pages, and it was a bunch of people I didn't know. And one day they like mentioned something about podcasts, and like some dude went off about the new Locked On Titans guy has such a nasally, annoying voice, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, that guy. Yeah, like they didn't even know that it was like me, and they were like, and I was so early on, I was like, oh my God, I'm screwed. Like, no one's ever going to like this show, whatever, but it turned out all right. So yeah, I guess, at the end of the day, we're all just fans, and I appreciate anybody who's willing to listen to me for, a couple episodes a week or 2.5 hours. I never lose sight of, I'm not so famous. My F- celebrity, not so famous. I don't forget that we're all just the same, just fans wanting to talk about our team, so I appreciate it.
We appreciate you, man. All right. So, yeah, we'll see you later, man. If you want to go ahead and just tell everybody where they can find you at, and then you can jump off and I can do my outro.
Cool. Yeah. Locked On Titans podcast, all apps, Monday through Friday, always free. Don't do paywalls. Don't make people pay for content that they can get everywhere. Make your podcast free. Make your articles free. Sell the advertising. Do it right. People hate commercials, but it's better than paying for the content. So YouTube, Locked On Titans YouTube, and Sports Illustrated, alltitans.com. We really appreciate any support there. We're in the infancy stages of kind of building that up. And then Tic Tac Titans on Twitter. You can tell me how bad my takes are, how bad my tweets are. Like everybody else, it's fun. So especially my Kyle Phillips article today. Everybody thinks I'm an idiot because I wanted to focus on punt returner. So it's just a new day. You can tell me I'm an idiot tomorrow.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again,
yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. And you come on again if you ever want to.
For sure, man. Absolutely. I loved chopping it up. So I'll be on again, maybe sometime during the season. We'll have a little recap here and get back together. The four horsemen here, the Titans apocalypse. But all right, guys, I will see you. Thank you so much. Tighten up.
For sure.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Yep. Tighten up, bro.
All right, so that was Tyler Rowland, everybody. We are about to end the show. Thank you for tuning in. What's up, Jason? Just a shout out. But I thought he was going to get off a lot. I thought Tyler Rowland was going to stop a lot earlier than he did. I'm blessed that he stayed as long as he did, so I'm really happy about that. But I was waiting until after he left to let y'all know that if you notice the guy below me, he's new. He's brand new.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a part of this podcast from now on. So y'all should just get used to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tyler, man, welcome to the podcast, brother.
Tyler, you want to introduce yourself? Let people know what made you a Titans fan.
Oh, man. Well, I was 3 years old, and they had just moved to Nashville, just started being the Titans, actually, instead of the Oilers. And I remember watching them on CBS, and I was like, hey, I like their colors. Ever since then, I've been disappointed every single year of my life. So that's what made me a Titans fan. And I'm here because whenever we win the Super Bowl 1 year of my lifetime, I'm never, ever going to shut up about it. Ever. So I'm waiting on that time. I never shut up about playoff victories, any moral victories I can take, or I will take them. But I am a huge Titans fan, love the Titans, been a Titans fan literally since they moved to Nashville. So I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm extremely excited to be able to come on here and not just annoy my work friends with my Titans takes anymore. So the guys, they couldn't care less about the Titans, but I'm going to sit there and talk about them anyway. So I'm glad I get to come on here and actually have somewhat of an audience that actually somewhat cares about what I have to say. So I'm glad to be here.
All right, man. Tell them where they can find you at.
I am Titan_always22 on Twitter. Is the Ryan Stonehouse Stan account, one and only, the original one. I was the Brett Kern Stan account. We show love to the specialist over here all the time. So follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to put out new content all the time with pictures and videos and things like that. And like Tyler Rowland said, come on there and tell me how stupid I am with all the takes that I have, because I mean, we all have stupid takes. We're not always right. So come on there, argue with me, love me. Either way, I'm gonna show love back. So you just find me on there. Let's talk, man. I'm excited.
Beautiful. All right, man. Flame, tell them where they can find you at, brother.
Yes, sir. You can find me at Flame Douglas on Facebook, and then on Twitter, you can find me at Flame_615. Just come follow your boy. Keep you updated on any Titans news, and keep growing this show, man, with my boy Max and my new co-host Tyler, man.
Yeah, man. And as usual, you can find me everywhere on Maximus_Titan_fan. That's at Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, not YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. You can also find me on the Titans Fan Battle podcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, please like, subscribe, share. Sharing is caring. Thank you for our show tonight, and we will see you guys next Monday night, same bat time, same bat channel. Enjoy it. Tighten up, everybody.
Tighten up, y'all.
There we go.
Nope, not